Es wird Zeit für eine neue Folge Nein, nein, nein. Hallo Leute und herzlich willkommen zu Nein, nein, nein. In der letzten Folge haben wir es geschafft, den Schlüssel zu finden, um rauszukommen aus dem Operationssaal. Ja, Operating Room. Seven hat uns die Geschichte erzählt über diese komische Mumie, die irgendwie aussieht wie ein Mensch, aber nicht tot, aber ihr wisst schon. Und Clover möchte uns jetzt auch eine Geschichte erzählen und wir haben versprochen, es niemandem zu erzählen. Eine Geschichte, was vor 9 Jahren auf diesem Schiff passiert ist. Ich bin gespannt. It was an experiment to test some sort of psychic thing. Okay. Something about communicating through these fields that you can't see. Telepathie. Das hatten wir schon öfter gerade. Fields that you can't see. He'd heard something like this before. Clover nodded. Like, think about this. She pointed at the operating table. On top of it was a somewhat mismatched medical mannequin whose parts had been swapped with another mannequin. Ja, das Rätsel haben wir letzte Folge gemacht. This is John, right? But is he really John? All Junpei could think was she has finally completely lost it. Isn't this like Socks? Or the ship of Theseus? Das sagt man alles gar nicht. Junpei grew even more confused. He'd never heard of either of those things, although they sounded smart. Ja, stimmt schon. You don't know? You haven't heard of those paradoxes? Oh, ich hasse Paradoxe. Die machen mir immer Kopfschmerzen. Junpei shook his head. Clover laughed. Okay, well, pay attention then. This is how Socks works. Let's say I've got a pair of socks. They're my favorite socks. One of them gets a hole in it. What would you do if that was your sock, Junpei? Also, ich persönlich würde sagen, patch it up. Well, I guess I'd patch it up. Get some cloth and close up the hole. Yeah. But what if another hole opens? I'll add another patch, I suppose. What if another hole opened after that? Another patch, I guess? Well, let's say you just keep adding new patches, until eventually the original cloth of the sock is totally gone. Dann haben wir eine neue Socke gemacht. Once you get to that point, can you really say they're the same socks you started with? That's tough. Eigentlich nee, das ist eine neue Socke. Junpei crossed his arms. So that's the Socks thing. Yeah. The ship of Theseus is a lot like it. The ship of Theseus, if you keep fixing the damaged parts of a ship, eventually it ends up with none of the parts it started with. Can you really say that the ship is the ship of Theseus? That ship is the ship of Theseus that you started with? And what if you took all the old parts from the first ship and built another one somewhere else? Then which ship is the real ship of Theseus? Ja, okay, da möchte ich mir jetzt nicht den Kopf drüber zerbrechen. The one you repaired or the one you built with all the original parts? Eigentlich das mit den original parts, eigentlich, aber I don't know. It was an interesting question. Clover could see Junpei was intrigued. Hey, do you think it's the same? What's the same? These guys. Is this John, or is it Lucy now? Junpei looked at the operating table again. A mannequin full of body parts from a different body. Clover had been right. It was just like Socks and the ship of Theseus. The part of the body that holds a person's identity is the head. Of course, for many hundreds of years, unconventional wisdom had held that a man's identity reside in his heart, or any of a number of internal organs. John's head and heart were both his, but apart from that, and a single arm, the rest of his body once had been Lucy's. Was that mannequin really John? We're just like these mannequins. She looked at Junpei again. Think about it. The cells in our body change every day. Old ones die, and new ones are born. Maybe part of my arm is made of stuff from a fish I ate once. Or maybe part of your right side is made from a cow you ate. If you take it a little further, those cows and fishes are made from something else too, right? That's how we're all connected. Okay, das ist ziemlich deep stuff. Through fields that can't be seen with the naked eye. The silence was broken by Seven. Ach stimmt, den gibt's ja auch noch. Hey! What the hell is taking you two so long? Seven's head appeared in a doorway. He was not happy. How long are you gonna make me wait? We don't have time to screw around. Junpei and Clover looked at each other. Clover looked at Junpei, as if to say there was more she wanted to tell him. Ja, wir sind immer noch nicht auf dieses Experiment eingegangen, was hier vor 9 Jahren passiert ist. She shook her head. Whatever she had to tell him, she didn't want to tell him in front of Seven. Ich glaube, Clover vertraut Seven nicht so ganz, wie sie uns vertraut. Seven seemed to catch on. Oh. What were you two doing? Was this some sort of secret meeting? No, it wasn't. We were just playing with the mannequins. Das ist die schlechteste Ausrede, die sich Clover hätte einfallen lassen können. Huh? Let's go, Junpei. Moving a little bit too fast to be entirely innocent, Clover headed toward the exit. Seven stared after her, then turned to Junpei with an amused expression. Playing with mannequins, huh? Didn't know you were into that kind of thing, Junpei. Seven, nein, hör auf! Nein, 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 nein! Wir wollen jetzt hier nicht irgendwie sexuelle Anspielungen machen. You're a dick. Super Junpei. Junpei dashed past him and traced Clover's path out of the door. Oh, ist das cool. With a short laugh, Seven followed. Oh God. They stood, looking at the door. Junpei took out the Jupiter key. Alright, I'm gonna open it now. Is it cool? You don't need to keep asking. Just do it, alright? Fine then. He slid the key into the keyhole and turned it. He felt it unlock. The door opened with a soft, melancholy creak. Beyond it lay a simple, white hallway. There was no fanfare or confetti. Obviously, there was no one there to applaud them. Schade. They simply walked through the door. That was it. Alright, let's get going. Hey man, what's up with you? You're so serious, you know. Can't you sound more happy? You know, get a little excited. Not really. Junpei turned away from Seven and took his first step down the simple white hallway. My brother might be dead. I'm going to be next. Clover had told him only a few minutes before that her brother was probably dead, and she was likely to follow him. How could he pretend to be happy after hearing something like that? We found it! Yay! Haben wir gut gemacht, Leute. Finde ich. High five an euch alle. Fühlt euch gehighfived. They left the operating room. The hallway took them around several corners and past several doors, but they were all locked. Until at last, the final door was hidden in a corner of the hall. Junpei grabbed the handle. As he made to push it open, a voice stopped him. The voice came from behind him and belonged to neither Seven nor Clover. Kann es sein, dass unsere Gruppen jetzt wieder zusammentreffen? Jumpy! He spun around. He saw someone running toward him from the other end of the hallway. There were 3 people coming toward Junpei and his companions. Schön. Santa, Lotus, and June! They pulled up short in front of Junpei, breathing hard. Whoa! What the hell is this? What are you doing here? What? But we didn't. Before he could finish, Clover spoke. Hey guys, could you come take a look at this? She was standing near the end of a small hallway that branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious as to what she found. There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway. A map of the ship's interior, das hatten wir doch schon. It said sea deck in the upper left corner. It was, they assumed, a map to the floor they were on. Ja, okay, logisch. Door 7 and door 8. The map The map confirmed that they'd already knew. Both doors eventually led to the hallway where they had found themselves. In fact... Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't gonna be too split up permanently till we find door 9. We might get separate for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise we won't be able to open door 9. That's how the nonary game works. Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again. Sieht logisch aus. As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to wariness. One by one, the others saw what he'd seen. They moved, as one for the door. He pulled the map of the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others. Easy. And the 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke, without looking back at the other 5. Ready? I'm gonna open it. Slowly, all 5 nodded their silent assent. With a deep breath, Santa threw open the door. They poured through the doorway and into the room. Ich bin aufgeregt, was wird uns jetzt wohl erwarten? Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were. They were just where the map had said they would be. Ja, wo denn? Sag's mir doch! The same room they'd been in not so very long ago. Was? The tremendous central hospital room, with empty beds from wall to wall. Was? Wir sind umsonst durch die Türen reingegangen? Hä, was? Ich bin gerade geschockt, ich weiß gar nicht, was ich sagen soll. I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory. Okay, das andere wäre das Labor gewesen, oh je. And then met one another in a hallway after opening your respective locked doors. He looked like anyone might, after only just walking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report. At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I'm sure you'll be back for me. I did hope you would come back, but I confess I didn't think you'd be back so soon. Ja, ne? Das hätte ich auch nicht gedacht. Ace shook his head with a rueful smile. Well, we saw each other again, and we ain't dead, so I say that's good enough. 7 smiled. Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need. The key? Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Right, Junpei? Junpei nodded. Ah, the solar system keys. Actually, we found one in the laboratory too. Das war Erde, ne? Ja. Here, the Earth key. Lotus dug out a still warm key with an Earth symbol on it. I might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way, it won't be my fault if it gets lost. Ich hasse sie immer noch. And with that, she pressed it into Junpei's hand. He felt slightly less than honored. As a group, they now had 3 keys that had not been used. Ach, ja, stimmt, wir hatten noch den Saturn-Key. The Jupiter key which had been found in the operating room. Ach so, die keycard, ja. The Saturn keycard which had been found in the kitchen. The Earth key which Lotus had just handed to Junpei. Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. June spoke up. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of the long, straight hallway, right? Yeah. If the map's right, then it connects to the central staircase. The next to the stairs... Wait! They were the first words anyone heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested that they weren't going to be happy words. What about door 3? Look, you saw the map, right? It's same as 7 and 8. It just leads us back to the big hospital room. Ach so, dann wäre es egal gewesen, hätten wir dann auch 3 Leute geopfert. Wir wären eh wieder zurückgekommen. Da möchte ich kurz etwas zu Flo sagen, der jetzt hier bestimmt zuguckt. Flo, Dankeschön. Dankeschön, dass du es mir nicht verraten hattest. There's no point to seeing what's on the other side of that door. Aber vielleicht ist da auch ein Schlüssel oder so. There is a point. At least there is for me. Oder da ist Snake drin. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at Seven as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who couldn't have resisted those eyes. Ah, Clover macht den Puppy-Blick. Ach, Clover. Seven looked everywhere in the room except at Clover, and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath. Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3. Clover nodded once. The next person to speak was Ace. Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So Seven, you'll help me, won't you? Huh? Me? Junpei did a calculation quickly in his head. Ja, die 3, um in Tür 3 zu gehen, ja. 4 plus 1 plus 7 ist 12. 1 plus 2 ist 3, ja. It looked like Seven was doing them too. At least he gave up. Damn. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be. So I'm going with you, huh? Yes, you are. Ace lässt keinen Spielraum für irgendwas anderes. Alright, let's get moving. And so it was decided that Clover, Ace and Seven would discover what lay beyond door 3. Okay, we're heading out. Be careful. Whoa, didn't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus. Don't let it go to your head, bitch. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9th door. Ah, the truth comes out. Seven nodded, as if this answer made much more sense, and pulled the lever on the red. Okay, let's go. The door opened and Ace, Clover and Seven jumped through it. Die kommen aber bestimmt mit einem Schlüssel oder so zurück. 6, 7, 8. After exactly 9 seconds, the door closed noisily. Alright, we should get moving too. Huh? Get moving? Where are we going? Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused. Well, it would be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain. Das will eigentlich niemand hören. I get it. We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key. Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake. They were at the end of the hallway, lined by individual hospital rooms. The Jupiter symbol was engraved on a keyhole. Alright, Junpei, open if you please. Yeah, on it. Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Okay, können wir jetzt irgendwie, keine Ahnung, Lotus in einem anderen Zimmer einsperren oder so? Alright, ready guys? Junpei's companions nodded. He nodded back, then slowly and quietly opened the door. Jetzt sind wir wieder da. Das war logisch. Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom, with a massive central staircase. Haben wir damals da nicht angefangen? Haben wir uns da nicht damals alle getroffen? Great. Back to the beginning. Ja, sag ich doch. You sure this is a good idea? What do you mean? Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here. Also ich persönlich sage no idea, aber wir sagen mal of course there's a reason. Wir wollen einfach mal schlau klingen, weil, ja, weil ich weiß nicht. Das wirft irgendwie ein schlechtes Licht. Ich weiß nicht. Okay, lass uns mal gemeinsam überlegen kurz. Der Schlüssel war da nicht umsonst drin. Vielleicht als Shortcut, Weil wir haben jetzt auch den Saturn-Ding, das Saturn-Keycard, und es geht jetzt zum Elevator. Das heißt, wir können jetzt hier durch zum Elevator mit der Saturn-Keycard. Also, eigentlich ist dann ein Grund, ja. Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can tell if you're smart or just lucky. Huh? This. Junpei pulled two things out of his pockets. Yay! Ich wusste es! Ich hatte recht. The Saturn Keycard. Ach so, wir haben auch noch den Erdschlüssel, ja. And the Earth Key. Santa cocked his head to one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took pity on him. Oh Gott. Manchmal ist er echt schlau und manchmal ist er echt dumm as hell. Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? Mit der was ich gerade gesagt habe. And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on the A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. So the two keys that Jumpy has should lead us to the elevator and the door on A deck, huh? Yes, that's right. June smiled, pleased with herself. June kriegt hier, ich patt mal ihren Kopf, weil sie so schlau ist. So did Santa. Alright, I got it. Let's get started then. Ja, Santa kriegt auch einen Pat dafür, dass er es endlich gecheckt hat. What did you say we split into two teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you two can search Saturn, alright? Nein! Nein, 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 nein. Ich gehe nicht mit Lotus mit. Nein, das mache ich nicht. Ich gehe entweder mit Santa oder mit June, aber nicht mit Lotus. Junpei ist mir gerade so in den Rücken gefallen. Fick dich, Junpei. Sounds good. Junpei handed the Earth Key to Santa. Ich will nicht mit Lotus mit. Ich quengel jetzt. Ich hasse es. They decided that the initial search should be brief, only 10 minutes. They'd meet back near the staircase once they were done. Junpei and June headed for the elevators. Hä? Habe ich gerade irgendwie was missverstanden? Ich habe gerade wahrscheinlich irgendwas missverstanden. Ich dachte, ich muss mit Lotus mitgehen. Okay. Vergiss es, ich bin mit June. Alles klar. Ich habe nicht richtig gelesen, wer was spricht. Sorry, das war mein Fehler. Junpei and June headed for the elevators. Sure enough, there were a card reader bolted to the wall next to the left elevator. He lined up the Saturn keycard and swept it through the reader. A light on the upper left corner blinked to life. Great. Looks like it's working now. Alright, now how do I call the elevator? There was a single button to the right of the elevator door. Yeah, here. On the button was the upside down triangle, the universal symbol for down. There didn't appear to be an up button. Junpei pushed it. He didn't have much of a choice. Wir haben den Fahrstuhl gerufen. Yay! It opened! Look, Jumpy! June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety. Sweet, it opened. Let's get going. He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. He was about to set foot in it. He felt a hand on his arm. Wait! What? I'm not really... I just... Oh gosh. Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably afraid of being locked up alone with a boy, or they could only go down. Unten ist ja alles schon überschwemmt, ne? Also ist es auf jeden Fall nicht das hier, es ist auf jeden Fall das hier. She was afraid because the only elevator button pointed down. That meant, of course, that this elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A or B decks near the central staircase. All of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks. And the floor below the one they were on D deck should be completely submerged. Ja, was ich gesagt habe. Das also ist grad scheiße. That meant... Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right? Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise like it was moving, and then it opened. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So take a look inside. Junpei jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator. It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floors are totally dry. Oh, you're right, they are. She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed. Das ist okay, June, keine Sorge. Dafür sind wir da, das zu klären. Well, let's test it. Test it? Yeah, watch this. Junpei put one foot in the elevator and bent around the corner of the door until he could see the floor buttons. There were only two, E and C. He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut and they heard the grinding of the motor and the elevator car move down. Okay. A few moments later they heard the sound of the elevator door grinding open several floors below. Dass man das hören kann, dass die Wände hier so dünn sind. Ja, okay, es ist alles Holz. Kann schon möglich sein. Junpei nodded to June and pressed the elevator button again. Der arme Fahrstuhl wird ständig hoch, runter geholt. A few moments later the elevator returned. The door slid open and just as Junpei had expected there was no water to be found. See? Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. Ah, er ist stolz. Wir sind auch stolz, Junpei. June, however, still looked confused. What does that mean? How can E-deck be safe if the D-deck is full of water? Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E-deck must be watertight and separate from wherever the ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you. He pulled out his notebook and pen. Wir haben ein Notebook, das wusste ich gar nicht. And sketched out a rough illustration. I see. Is that why the ship hasn't sunk? The shape of the inside keeps it from all filling with water. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Okay. Klingt logisch. Haben wir alles verstanden. Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket. So, I'm gonna go down and check it out. You stay here, alright? But... Come on, just do it, alright? He gave June's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. He pushed the E button and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth, as if she was trying to make a decision when suddenly... I'm coming with you! Huh? At the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways, just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Ach ja, June und Junpei. Wenn man sie nicht trennen kann, dann kann man sie nicht trennen. Und wenn man sie trennen muss, dann finden sie trotzdem immer wieder zusammen. Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. The door had shut. He and June were in the elevator and was heading down to E-deck. Ja, was hat denn der dagegen, wenn sie mitfährt? Ich versteh's gar nicht. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on the E-deck. The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They stepped off onto the floor outside the elevator. Nothing seemed especially unusual. No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. Insgesamt, es sind keine Fische da. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks... Ah, so! June's cheeks were puffed out and her mouth a tiny intense frown. Aww. June, unser kleiner Blowfish. Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here. June looked around nervously, then... Sie hat die Luft angehalten gehabt. Ach Gott, June. Exhaled. You're right. It's not flooded at all. See? But there's a whole lot of water. Yeah, right on top of us. What's going to happen if the ceiling breaks? Junpei thought about it for a moment. We'd probably die. Junpei, der Retter aller Herzen und Verursacher von Angstzuständen. Oh no, don't be so casual about something like that! At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back. Okay, good idea. Junpei glanced around the room they'd found themselves in. Das zu. The first thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. They ran to the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one. Ja, das ist logisch. Well, we can't go over there. Right. Then perhaps. In the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner. Tür Nummer 6. Wir haben Tür Nummer 6 gefunden. Yay, wir kommen irgendwie immer weiter zum Ziel, glaube ich. A long straight hallway stretched out in front of him. That door at the end of the hallway. There's something written on it. Yeah, let's go have a look. Alter, das siehst du doch von hier, dass das eine 6 ist. Also ganz ehrlich. Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brass clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Okay. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint. 6. I knew it. This is a numbered door. And indeed, there was a red bolted on the wall right next to the door. Und es ist vacant, das heißt, wir könnten durch. Of course, with only 2 people, there wasn't much they could do with it. Alright, let's head back. Yes! Junpei and June turned and headed back to C-Deck. Okay, wir haben schon mal einiges rausgefunden. On their way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall. As it turned out, it was a burnt map of the ship's interior for E-Deck. A burnt? Also verbrannt? So wie verbrannt? Oder einfach nur eine... Ja. Huh? So you guys found door 1. Ahahaha, okay. Da ist also Tür 1 und unten ist Tür 6. They'd met back up with Santa and Lotus, who'd explained what they'd found. Apparently there was another numbered door in A-Deck, just like the one on E-Deck, beyond the door that the Earth Key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door. All told, they had discovered 2 new doors, the 6 door and the 1 door. Is it interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded? Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought. Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator. Even so, it is still very interesting. You said the 6th door was there, right? Yes. Yes. Then that means Zero planned all this out. Even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Zero ist einfach ein kranker Bastard. Ende. Wollen wir nicht mehr weiter drüber nachdenken. Yeah. I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost. It would have been a ton, that's for sure. Ich sag doch, Zero ist ein Nachfahre von diesem Lord, ich habe seinen Namen vergessen, der das Schiff dann gekauft hat, der so versessen von der Titanic war. Der hat ja Geld, er ist ja ein Lord. Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash. Yes, it does make sense. That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing. I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here. June looked up at Junpei with large pleading eyes. Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already. Well, Junpei, I should be able to open door 1. Huh? You guys leaving me behind? 8 plus 6 plus 9, ja. 10, 1, ja. Just kidding. Alright, let's go. Alter, Lotus wird mir immer unsympathischer und unsympathischer und unsympathischer. Die kann meinetwegen, keine Ahnung, ertrinken gehen. Lotus' words were all the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went. Ich glaube nicht, dass sie Snake gefunden haben. Ich weiß nicht, warum, es einfach so ein Bauchgefühl. Ich glaube nicht, dass sie es haben. Ich hoffe es natürlich sehr, aber... The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room. Hey! Where the hell did you guys go? It was 7. Ace was right behind them, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back. It looked as though there was something strange about them. 7 had the look of a man who'd seen a ghost. Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. Was zum Teufel war in Door 3, bitte? For a long moment they simply stood there looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. Was ist passiert? He looked at 7. What happened? What the hell kind of question is that? 7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. His shoulders were trembling and his voice was strained. Snake is... Ist Snake tot? War dahinter die Leiche von Snake? 7 couldn't finish. He just looked away, his face twisted by Junpei wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes and spoke. Snake is... dead. Okay. He died, just as the 9th man did. Ich weiß gar nicht, was ich dazu jetzt sagen soll. Mir tut Clover gerade so leid. Ich habe gedacht, dass sie Snake nicht gefunden haben, aber ich hätte nicht gedacht, dass Snake tot ist. Oh, die Musik ist gerade voll cool. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, it was as if all air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Ich sollte ernster bleiben. Ist gerade jemand gestorben. Junpei felt his heartbeat quickened, and he realized he was having trouble breathing. He could feel cold sweat bedding on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All 3 were frozen in place, their faces white. Oh my god, that's not true, is it? We should make sure. Yeah, right, we should. They nodded to one another and headed to the number 3 door. Wait! Not that way. They stopped short and turned to look at 7. He was pointing at the door with no number. I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way. It's not locked, so you can go in that way. Where is he? The shower room, on the left side of the hallway. I put a broom in there too, to keep the door open. We can get in without going through the numbered door, right? Yeah, that's right. Their new destination cleared, Junpei and his companions headed for the door with no number. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door on the left wall. It hadn't been open when they'd been through before. But now, just as 7 said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame, keeping it open. They looked at it for a moment, then stepped inside. Ugh, it smells horrible. Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pinched his nose shut. Yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke. It was just as bad as I said, perhaps worse. A hideous smell filled the air, so thick that it could almost taste it. It was sour and smelled of fish, faces, and burnt meat. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down his throat to pound against the entrance to his stomach. He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belonged. They didn't have to wonder where the body was. There was blood everywhere, a few arms of the splatter reaching toward them as they walked through the door. Hier sind Buchstaben, ne? L und R. Und LLR? Ich weiß es nicht. Da hat hier auf jeden Fall jemand was mit Blut hingeschrieben. Warum, frage ich mich, warum? Snake wusste, dass wenn er alleine in der Tür reingeht, dass er dann explodiert. Wieso hat er es getan? All they had to do was follow the many radial arms to their source. The body itself was hidden behind a divider. June, you should stay here. But Please, just do me a favor, okay? Alright? He didn't give... Achso, oder vielleicht ist er gar nicht explodiert, sondern ist auf eine andere Art gestorben. He didn't give her a chance to say no. He put his hand on her shoulder as if to shove her into the ground like a tent pole, turned and walked toward the end of the divider. It felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually, they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded, slowly. Junpei put his hands on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest like an empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew in that instant that he would take the image before him to the grave. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. Ja, lecker Blut, lecker toter Snake. A vast, ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out like fresh spaghetti. Das ist ekelhaft, das ist abartig. Ich hoffe, Clover musste das nicht sehen. Small chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall even as they dried to it. Just like Ace said, Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own. Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bump in his gut. Also es hat doch explodiert. Aber er wusste es doch. Was hat Snake gemacht? It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painful white bone of his Ulna? Ich weiß nicht, was Ulna ist, aber wahrscheinlich ein Knochen. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to shatter the display, which lay on the ground in pieces. Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. Das ist ekelhaft. Jetzt kann ich keine Pizza mehr essen, ohne an Snakes toten Kopf zu denken. Eklig. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the grey slacks. They were all familiar to Junpei. Junpei. Das macht mich gerade so ein bisschen traurig. Ich habe Snake nicht vertraut, ja. Aber jetzt war es offensichtlich, dass er irgendwie unschuldig war, weil sonst wäre er nicht gestorben. No mistake about that. It's Snake. Lotus' voice was unnaturally deep and strained, and Junpei heard it catch in her throat. Ich hoffe wirklich, dass Clover das nicht sehen musste. Ich hoffe es wirklich für sie. The squeal of tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. It sounded like the noise a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, he never got used to it. Every time it put him on edge. It didn't help there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human should. Clover. It was Clover. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Das arme Mädchen. Aside from the rise and fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces. Aber ich würde die 1.000 Stücke aufheben und sie wieder zusammensetzen. Clover tut mir so leid. Snake was probably murdered. Chances are high he was killed the same way the ninth man was. Seven lowered his voice, likely in an effort to keep Clover from hearing what he had to say. There were 4 other people in the room with Junpei and Seven. Ace, Santa, June, and Lotus. Seven looked at each one of them in turn and continued. It's pretty straightforward. Not that hard to figure out how they did it. First, the killers got Snake to authenticate on the red to open door 3. Ich weiß, worauf Seven hinaus will. Es war einer von uns. Unsere Gruppe. 2 von unseren Leuten haben Snake ermordet. Then they shoved him into it alone and waited 9 seconds for the door to shut. Once the door shut, it was over for Snake, but he didn't give up. He probably knew it wouldn't do him any good, but he probably ran into the shower room, looking for the dead. It was a small chance, but it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The detonator only deactivated if everybody who authenticated when they went in uses the dead. And then 81 seconds after he was shoved in. That happened. I see. So that's what you mean by killers, huh? You need at least 3 people to open one of the numbered doors, including Snake. It wouldn't open for Snake and a single killer. Exactly. That means we're looking at multiple perps here. Junpei crossed his arms and grunted. Well, just in case, I want to make sure. Let's say you're right. When do you think Snake was killed? When we all split up to look for the parts for the reds, I think. Right after that was when we noticed he was gone. Then that means none of us have alibis. We were all off searching the rooms we've been assigned, looking for those parts. Yeah, that means anybody could be a killer. Wait a minute! What are you talking about? June seemed shocked. How can you say one of us is a killer so casually? Well, not just one of us. If I'm right, then at least 2 of us are murderers. Darf ich eine Vermutung aufstellen? An der Wand, wo Snake gestorben ist, standen noch Buchstaben drauf, ne? Ich glaube, Snake wollte uns so mitteilen, wer ihn ermordet hat. Ich erinnere mich, dass ein L dabei war. Also kann es sein, sehr wahrscheinlich, dass Lotus einer der Mörder war. Ich glaube auch sehr, dass es Lotus war. Why don't you calm down a bit, Seven? What are you going to gain by being so suspicious? That's what Zero wants, you know. What Zero wants? Exactly. This game was set up by Zero, wasn't it? Any game has a winner and a loser. Whoever makes it through door 9 is a winner, and those who don't are the losers. Zero is trying to make us fight against one another for that victory. Then you're saying that Zero is trying to split us by making us fight each other? Yes. That's why we can't let ourselves fall prey to suspicion. We have to trust one another and form a strong bond of friendship. Ah, Ace, so süß. Let's form a bond of friendship. Wir sind alle Freunde. Otherwise, we'll end up ensnared by Zero's manipulations. Then, does that mean that the person who killed Snake? Yes, almost certainly Zero himself. Das ist deine Meinung, ich bin mir da nicht so sicher. Ich glaube, Lotus hatte irgendwas damit zu tun. If there's anyone we should doubt, it should be Zero. He masterminded this game and kidnapped all of us. Doesn't it seem reasonable that he would have killed Snake as well? Junpei hadn't really considered that. If Zero had killed Snake, then Zero was on a ship with them. Was Zero still on a ship with them? Ja, ich glaube ja. Weil ich glaube ja auch, dass Zero die Teile zurückgebracht hat von den Dingern hier. Auch wenn die anderen mir das nicht glauben, ich bin immer noch der festen Überzeugung, dass Zero es war. Also ja, ich glaube schon. Of course he was. That was obvious. Zero was somewhere on a ship, but Junpei had no idea where. Junpei mumbled to himself, lost in thought. Where could Zero be hiding? Suddenly everyone went very quiet. The silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghostly moaning noise. And moments later, a person who looked more ghost than human appeared. Ja, Clover, natürlich. It was Clover. She looked at the floor as she spoke, and her voice was cold, monotone. I think Zero is one of us. Was? Wie bitte? Ich habe gerade eine Sekunde gebraucht, um zu verstehen, was Clover sagt. Zero soll einer von uns sein? Also von unserer Gruppe? Nee, das kann ich. Nein, das glaube ich nicht. Nein. Every human body in the room froze. The only sound was the muffled rustling of breath. I started from face to face. One of those faces was the face of the jailer. But who? Junpei said. That's crazy. Nein, ich glaube das nicht. Ich glaube nicht, dass einer von uns Zero ist. Es geht gar nicht. Oder? Nein, that's crazy. That's crazy. Isn't the ship going to sink in a few hours? If Zero was here with us, he'd be putting himself in danger. Why the hell would he do something like that? There's no motive. Clover looked up at Junpei and her face fell. You don't believe me? Her eyes were so pitiful. The moment Junpei's met them, he felt his heart tighten. He didn't think what he said was wrong, but perhaps the way he said it he'd been too insensitive. Clover had just lost her brother. His death would have been bad enough, but she'd also seen the blasted wreck of his body. Junpei barely knew him, and the sight had been enough to make him sick. Ach so, but she'd also seen his blasted wreck. Sie hat ihn auch gesehen. Oh nein. Oh, die arme Clover. Oh, die arme. What Clover had felt, he couldn't begin to imagine. In the mental state she must have been in, it was understandable that she would look at those around her with suspicion. She felt everyone was against her. The least Junpei could have done was trying to understand what she was feeling. He felt ashamed of what he'd said. Perhaps, he thought, I should apologize. But before that apology could begin... Clover, I understand what you're feeling. You don't feel that you can trust any of us. Du kannst mir vertrauen. Mir konntest du immer vertrauen. Ich bin der Einzige, glaube ich, der hier gut ist. Mit Santa zusammen. Und Ace. Und June. Also eigentlich alle außer Seven und Lotus. Ja. Ace had beaten Junpei to the punch. As he spoke to Clover, his face was calm and friendly. But you have to understand. The more we distrust one another, the further we fall into our true foe's trap. Zero was the one who did those horrible things to your brother. Do you want to let yourself be manipulated by someone who would do such a horrible thing? Clover didn't answer. She didn't even look at Ace. The whole time her eyes were on Junpei. Ich hab Angst. Verdächtigt sie jetzt mich, dass ich Zero bin? Alter, bitte. He could feel Clover's eyes boring into him. They were the color of a deep winter lake. Junpei saw no suspicion in them, only sadness. Oh. Then, in that horrible silence... Eine weitere Stunde ist vergangen, unserem Tod näher. They heard a bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase. 3 in the morning. That means we have 3 hours left. Then we need to move now. 3 Stunden bloß noch. Oh mein Gott. Das wird so eng. 7, Clover. I know how you feel. But you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you? 7 and Clover remained silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away. We must go. We have very little time left. Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where they were going. Tja, Sie wissen, wo wir hingehen, aber wir beenden die Episode erstmal hier für heute. Es ging schon lange genug. Ich bin relativ geschockt über was in dieser heutigen Episode passiert ist. Dieses Spiel zielt weiter aus, mein Herz schmerzen zu lassen. Aber, okay. Lasst einen Like da, einen Kommentar, wenn ihr irgendwelche Vermutungen habt in Bezug auf Sevens oder Clovers Vermutungen mit wer Snake getötet hat oder wer Zero ist, lasst es da in den Kommentaren, also eure Vermutungen. Und ja, wir sehen uns in der nächsten Folge wieder. Bis dahin, macht es gut.